Mutants wage war as Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen face off in X-Men. Can you believe there's a documentary about the eyes of Tammy Faye? And a special report about short films making a big splash on the web. Mutants use their superpowers for good and evil in X-Men, one of the new movies we'll be reviewing this week, and Michaela Pereira will join us with hit movies from the web. I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times, and across the aisle from me is our new permanent co-host on the show.
I'm Richard Roper, columnist for the Chicago Sun-Times, and it's great to be here.
Welcome aboard, Richard. Our first movie is X-Men, the long-delayed screen debut of the Marvel Comics stable of superheroes. The X-Men, of course, are modern mutants, each one with a specialized skill or talent and a name to match. In the movie, a senator has called for legislation against mutants, and two mutant leaders have different responses. Xavier, a telepath played by Patrick Stewart, counsels education to teach the mutants how to fit into society. But he warns Wolverine, Storm, and Cyclops that his rival, Magneto, has a different agenda. I love these names.
What's a Magneto?
A very powerful mutant who believes that a war is brewing between mutants and the rest of humanity.
And that was rough guy newcomer Hugh Jackman there with Halle Berry and James Marsden. But Magneto, played by Ian McKellen, favors a more direct approach against society.
Stay where you are. Put your hands over your heads. Now.
Give the movie credit for not being a hyperkinetic orgy of fast editing. It has time for scenes like this one, where Rogue, a confused young mutant played by Anna Paquin, tells Wolverine about her fears.
The first boy I ever kissed ended up in a coma for 3 weeks. I can still feel him inside my head.
X-Men is obviously intended as the first in a series, and it intrigued me. I kind of liked it. I'd like to see a sequel. It spends too much time, though, I think, in setting up the characters and not enough time on the story. One X-Man after another is hauled on screen to demonstrate superpowers, but those scenes don't really add up, and the big climax is kind of an anticlimax. Fans of the comics will appreciate the movie, but if you don't walk in already knowing who Sabretooth and Mystique are, you're going to have to pay very close attention. An affectionate thumbs down.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I like the characters, but it's hard to keep track of it. And, you know, even near the end of the movie, they're explaining to each other, well, we're in copper right now, so I can't change the weather, but if you bring out your big tentacles, maybe you can stab somebody. But wait a minute, you have the healing power, so if
we'll transfer the healing power to you.
I mean, shouldn't the X-Men at least know each other's powers? So, I mean, even the mutants are explaining to each other what's going on here. I like some of the characters, maybe 2 or 3 X-Men instead of 8 of them. And if they're going to do a series later on, we can learn about these other X-Men. But right now, I'm not even sure who the hero is in this first
I think
edition.
It's probably Wolverine, although on the other hand, he only has the blades, whereas Storm can summon up an entire hurricane, which it seems to me make her the most powerful.
She should be the queen of the X-people,
but
she should just tell the human beings, if you mess with me, I'll just ruin your entire country with one blink of the eyes. Instead, it's the Wolverine guy going like this, like Freddy Krueger.
You know, I understand this movie was chopped down 45 minutes after an early sneak preview, and I think the 45 minutes that are missing probably have more to do with the characters and more to do with the story. And what we have here now is basically just housekeeping. You know, who are all of these people and what are their powers?
You need your guide to X-Men when you go see the movie. All right, our next movie. Our next movie is The Five Senses, with interconnecting stories about 5 characters, each dominated by a specific sense. For example, there's a bisexual house cleaner with an acute sense of smell, a massage therapist who has lost touch with her daughter, things like that. Now, sure, that's a gimmick, but the gimmick never gets in the way of the weird but very human dramas. Mary Louise Parker, playing a tough-talking but fragile baker whose cakes look much better than they taste, spars with her sort of boyfriend who's visiting from Italy.
You're not just milking me to stay in the country, are you? Because if you are, that would be really... I have to work. Lavoro.
Lavoro, sempre lavoro.
Then there's the French eye doctor who reveals his secret to a prostitute.
Une liste de choses que je dois faire. En fait, c'est une liste de choses que je dois entendre. Je suis en train de devenir sourd.
Now, the one story that touches everyone is the disappearance of a 3-year-old girl who was under the watch of the therapist's daughter. Here, the therapist goes to the home of the girl's mother.
They are going to find her. She's going to be okay.
We just have to have faith. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Director-writer Jeremy Podeswa has created a compelling medley of odd but likable characters who are having a terrible time connecting to the outside world. It's as if they're underwater and they can't breathe, even as a lifesaver bobs just above them, out of sight and out of reach. You ache for them, and you rejoice when at least some of them find hope. Five Senses worked from start to finish for me.
It did for me, too. And, you know, as I was watching it, I was reminded of movies like Shortcuts and Magnolia, which also have interconnecting stories involving different kinds of characters. But this one is quieter and more sensitive and more tender and really sweeter about his characters and really cares for them. I began to really love these people. Jeremy Podeswa really made me care about these people. It's not just a stunt, the interlocking stories.
No, it's very impressive because it doesn't become a stunt. And you're right, usually when you have interconnecting stories like this, you like some better than others, and you're like, go back to that other story. But this time, each one of them, I thought, were equally impressive.
Coming up next, a documentary look at the eyes of Tammy Faye.
So you've never done pictures without those eyelashes?
No, and I never will, because that's my trademark.
And later on in the program, Michaela Pereira will join us with reviews of hit movies on the web. She's with us right now live by satellite. Hi, Michaela.
Hi there, Roger. Hi, Richard. One of these movies has spectacular special effects entirely created by a couple of guys on their home computers. This scene got them an agency contract.
That's my blush. It's almost gone. I got to go to the swap meet and get some more. I buy it at the swap meet. My powder, that kind of, when I cry, it takes away the tears.
Tammy Faye Messner shows some of the tricks of her trade in the eyes of Tammy Faye, an unblinking look at one of the most recognizable and one of the most mocked women of our times, a gal who gave over-the-counter makeup a bad name. Now, a lot of years have passed and a lot of eyeliner has been smudged since the astonishingly oily Jim Baker and his frighteningly chirpy wife Tammy Faye became the first couple of televangelism, only to lose it all in a scandal that crumpled their PTL network and resulted in jail time for Jim and a river of tears for Tammy Faye. Here she revisits the infamous Heritage USA theme park.
He never allowed a light bulb to be out. He never allowed a dirty restroom. He never allowed grass to grow uncut. And he would have never allowed this. When I look at this chair, rusted away, that's sort of what's happened to Heritage USA.
She's still defending her former husband, even though they've both moved on. And she's still very particular about her trademark look.
So I'm going to start by taking some off.
Okay.
I'm going to take your foundation off and normally start again. Okay. Take your lips off. You want a little remover?
That's it. They'll be on. They're permanently lined.
Oh.
And my eyes are permanently lined. My eyebrows are permanently on.
I love the reaction of that makeup artist, and I'm still fascinated by Tammy's Liberace fashion style and her infomercial philosophies.
I believe the eyes of the soul. I truly do. And I think you can look in someone's eyes and really tell what kind of a person and what their heart is. And so when my precious friends die, I always ask if I could please have their glasses.
The eyes of Tammy Faye can't help but give you some laughs at the expense of its subject, but it goes much deeper than that, as we're reminded that it was Jim, not Tammy, who went to jail, as her only real crime was tackiness. And when Tammy finally meets with the reporter who helped bring down PTL, it's the reporter who comes across as insincere and weaselly. I can't believe I'm saying this, but you know what? I think I like Tammy Faye, and I know I like this movie.
You know, it's easy to laugh at Tammy Faye, and you can laugh at Tammy Faye in this movie, but I came up with the same feeling you did of affection.
Yeah.
This is a particular little woman with a lot of personality, a lot of determination, and a lot of problems in her life, including extremely bad taste in all of her associations, and especially with men.
But consistently bad taste. She still got the look now that she had in 85 and that she had in 75.
And she still has,
she still
has the spirit, and she still cries at the drop of a hat. But on the other hand, or the drop of an eyelash, on the other hand, I liked her here. You look at this movie and you say, she wasn't so bad. And really, when you bring out the age stuff, she was defying a lot of the fundamentalists she was catering to by bringing homosexuals on and embracing them as people who deserve to be listened to and who deserve to have respect.
And this documentary's got the clips to prove it. They've got some great old footage showing her way back when talking about this stuff.
Okay, next movie. Our next movie is Chuck and Buck, a psychological stalker movie about a creepy childhood friend who doesn't realize that time passes and people change. The movie is insidious in its technique as a misfit named Buck, who still seems trapped in his childhood memories, invites his old friend Chuck, a music executive, to his mother's funeral in their former hometown. The next thing Chuck knows, Buck has moved to Los Angeles and thinks they're still best friends.
You know, we're having some people over tomorrow night. It's a little party for Charlie's promotion.
Yeah, I should have remembered that. Yeah, you should come. It'll be great. I'll give you directions. You have a pen?
Yeah.
Well, I can find it.
That's Chris Weitz as Chuck. Buck seems to have a genius for knowing where to find his old buddy, no matter where he is, and acts like he's always welcome.
You followed me here, didn't you? I have some things to say to you. I don't give it. I've got some promoters here. I don't have time for you. Not now, not ever.
Lupe Ontiveros has a great supporting performance in this movie. She works for a struggling little theater where Buck gets the idea of putting on a play about himself and, of course, Chuck.
I think you have something weird about women. I think you have something weird about men. How old are you?
27.
Everybody clocks Buck for more or less exactly what he is, a psychopathic nuisance, and Chuck isn't that nice either.
Oh, yeah.
I like the way Lupe Ontiveros, as the director of Buck's play, is brutally honest and direct with him, and she's doing it for $25 an hour. That's why she's doing it. The movie is much more than simply the story of a stalker, however, and the story eventually leads all the way up to a moment where Chuck can't run from Buck anymore. Mike White, who plays Buck, wrote the screenplay, and he makes it clear that since Buck and Chuck really were best friends as kids, sooner or later the implications of that friendship are not going to be able to be avoided.
Well, it's not a stupid movie, but it's a very creepy movie. It was like spiders crawling on my arms, and I just wanted to whack the spider, and I just wanted to get this guy. You say these characters in the movie are aware of the type of personality that Buck is, and they know who he is, but they don't act the way you would if you had somebody bother you. It takes this couple forever to finally say, stop bothering. Oh, come on, this guy is so over-the-top creepy that, first of all, I don't believe that his friend would have come back to town for his mother's funeral in the first place. He wouldn't have gotten reunited with this creepy friend from his childhood days.
Well, but you find out why he might have gone back to town. But also, I think they do treat him the way somebody would, with passive aggression and kind of trying to avoid it. Like, you know,
I think you ought to treat him with a court order.
Well, for example, insincere invitations. Like, you ought to look us up when you come to L.A., and then he does look them up. And, oh, you have to come over to dinner one night, and he comes over to dinner one night.
But after that first one, would you keep issuing the
Well, I think that eventually his wife catches on and tells Chuck, what is it with this Buck? You know, let's get rid of this guy. And Buck occasionally really gets told off by Chuck, you know, like, get out of here.
Not enough and not fast enough.
Well, I liked it because, to me, it's kind of that whole personality thing that you run into sometimes where people just leech on and won't let go.
It made me uncomfortable. I thought it was creepy.
Coming up next, Michaela Pereira joins us to review some short films on the web, including a surprise bestseller, George Lucas in Love.
So, Lucas, we meet again.
Aaron, you live next door.
Short films have been dead in theaters for a long time, but now they're experiencing an explosive growth on the web. We asked our internet expert, Michaela Pereira, to review a couple of the most popular films on the web right now. And she joins us now live via satellite from the set of Internet Tonight in San Francisco. Hi, Michaela.
Hi, Roger. Well, that's right. As a result of the buzz generated online about their work, some young filmmakers have caught the attention of studio executives. Case in point, the creators of a little internet film called George Lucas in Love. It's a tale of a USC film student in 1967 desperately fighting a deadline to complete his script, Space Oats, and suffering from a mean case of writer's block, even though all around him are the seeds of an epic trilogy just waiting to be recognized.
Search not. Inspiration will you not find. It will find you.
He finally meets his muse, the oddly coiffed Marion, who inspires our young bard to write from the experiences around him and thus helps him to complete his opus.
Damn it, you know what? I've got to go. There's a big protest. I'm kind of leading the student rebellion.
Joe Nussbaum's careful direction of this Star Wars meets Shakespeare in Love spoof keeps the film from being cheesy or cheap, and his writing is equally subtle and even at times heartfelt. So impressed was the film world that Nussbaum recently signed to direct a film for Imagine Entertainment. And you know, a film like this brings credence to that old adage, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. George Lucas in Love is clever, it's funny, and it is available on the web at mediatrip.com.
And you know, Michaela, as I was watching, I was thinking, gee, a lot of people don't have fast access to the web. How can they see this movie? And I gather that, in fact, a videotape version of it has been a bestseller on Amazon. Is that true?
It has. In fact, in the sales, not only did it reach #1 at Amazon.com, but actually, get this, it surpassed the sales of The Phantom Menace. Go figure, huh?
But you know, Michaela, it's worth it. For $8, these 9 minutes are worth it because, as you mentioned, the writing is really good. The acting is good, which is not always the case with these small films, and it really is a sweet story.
Well, the thing is, with parodies, people often go so over the top that you sort of roll your eyes. This, he was right on, you know, and not only that, but George Lucas himself actually took quite an amusement to this film, and he actually sent the guy a letter to say, congratulations, you did your homework. All right, let's move on to our next film now. It is an amazing action-adventure called 405 by Bruce Brannett and Jeremy Hunt. 405 isn't without its humor, but what really makes this film so spectacular are the special effects. Hunt himself plays our hero of sorts, who finds himself in the wrong place at the wrong time. Unbeknownst to him, the 405 freeway has been closed down in order to serve as an emergency runway for an American Airlines jumbo jet. What's more, Hunt and Brannett, whose day jobs are as visual effects artists, created this whole film at home in only 3 months using 6 computers, a video camera, and little, if any, budget. It's their first independent collaboration, and the results truly are breathtaking. P.S. Enjoy the ending. It's classic.
Well, the whole thing amazes me. They have better special effects than Battlefield Earth had.
Isn't that so sad?
Working on their computers, I barely could figure out how to get a Winona Ryder screensaver, and these guys got planes crashing.
If people want to learn more about the movie, they can actually not only go to iFilm, which is where the movie is housed, but you can go to 405themovie.com, and you can learn a little bit about the behind the scenes of what it actually took to make this film.
You know, I think as people look at this movie, they're going to realize what we've really been talking about for the last 3 or 4 years about the new advances in computer-generated special effects. Because when you go to see a movie like The Matrix, for example, and 30% of what you're looking at doesn't really happen, you don't quite know exactly how that happens. When you see this movie, you realize at home, with a home computer, taking an airplane and a car and a highway, you can make this movie. So it's amazing, the resources that they have right now.
Well, and granted, these two are visual effects artists, and they work on shows like Star Trek, Voyager, and other shows like that. So, I mean, they have some inside scoop, but at the same time, it just proves to you what can be done. And a little interesting fact, we were talking about the budget these guys didn't have. Well, one of the expenses they incurred was a $75 traffic ticket for filming on an LA freeway.
Something tells me these guys can go on their computer and make that disappear, too.
Exactly, exactly. Now, another movie now, I understand, Roger, you've had quite a little undertaking with the guy that produced Bobby Loves Mangoes.
Bobby Loves Mangoes is by a guy named Stuart Acher, who accosted me at the Sundance Film Festival a year and a half ago and made me look at this movie, which was such a good movie that he has an agency contract, too, and has done some commercials and movie videos, and he's working on a screenplay now. And if you get to see Bobby Loves Mangoes, you'll see another good movie on the web.
It's a little longer. It's about 20 minutes, but it's definitely worth a download. What we didn't mention that the fellows from 405 actually secured an agency contract with creative artists with CAA. So, I mean, they're well on their way to success, definitely.
So, how do you want to get started in Hollywood? Well, make a movie, put it on the web, and hope somebody likes it.
Exactly, and people are watching, so there you go.
Thanks a lot, Michaela.
Thank you, guys.
When we come back, our video pick of the week honors the irreplaceable Walter Matthau.
Perfect.
The wonderful Walter Matthau died at 79 on July the 1st, leaving behind more than 60 films and a lot of laughter. Everyone has his favorite Matthau film, maybe The Odd Couple, The Fortune Cookie, or Grumpy Old Men. My favorite was made in 1971, and it's called A New Leaf. In it, Matthau plays a millionaire who has spent all of his money and knows so little about financial matters that his attorney has a really hard time explaining to him that he's broke.
I can't cover the check because the check is for $6,000 and you don't have $6,000. In other words, you don't have $60.
Come to the point, Beckett.
The point, Mr. Graham, is that you don't have any money.
Then Matthau meets a rich spinster played by Elaine May and cynically sets about marrying her for her money.
Rich, single, isolated. She's about to drop that teacup. She's perfect.
Walter Matthau was the kind of actor who never seemed to be trying for an effect. He just played the scene and the effect was there. In addition to co-starring, Elaine May wrote and directed A New Leaf, and it's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. It's my video pick of the week. Walter Matthau will be missed. This week's show, 2 thumbs down for X-Men, too many characters, not enough plot. 2 big thumbs up, though, for the touching human drama, The Five Senses. 2 more thumbs up for The Eyes of Tammy Faye. You might be surprised how much you like Tammy Faye after seeing this movie. The movie opens in 2 weeks. And finally, a split decision for Chuck and Buck. Richard thought it was creepy and phony. I thought it was creepy and effective.
Well, for me this week, it's all about the five senses.
You know, occasionally a movie comes along that just makes you feel more in touch with life, and that's what that one did for me. Remember, you can hear our reviews on Ebert-movies.com, read Richard and me at suntimes.com, and find Michaela at internettonight.com. Next week, more new movies, including the ghost story What Lies Beneath, starring Michelle Pfeiffer and Harrison Ford. And also the teen comedy Loser with Mina Savari and Jason Biggs. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.